Hey mamas, welcome back to the Strong and Nourished Mama podcast. Today we are diving into a topic that so many moms face but don't always know much about. Diastasis rectus abdominis, or DRA, or simply diastasis recti, or ab separation. We're going to talk about it. You've probably heard the term before, but what exactly is it, and why does it matter for your recovery and overall health after you're having a baby? Whether you've just had a baby or it's been a few years, this episode will help you understand diastasis recti, how it impacts your body, and what steps you can take to start healing. Let's get into it. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and like you've lost yourself in the postpartum chaos? Wondering how to nourish your body, regain your strength, and finally feel like you again? Hey, I'm Val, a functional sports dietitian, postpartum fitness coach, and mama who's been right where you are. Welcome to the Strong and Nourished Mama podcast, where I help busy moms like you reclaim your energy, your strength, and your confidence through simple nutrition and wellness strategies. If you're ready to feel strong, nourished, and unstoppable, you're in the right place. Let's get started. I have always been aware of diastasis rectus abdominis, or DRA, with my exercise science background, but it wasn't until I started thinking about getting pregnant, and then when I got pregnant, when I really learned more about it, what it was, and how to really help with DRA. And that's why I pursued my certifications in prenatal and postpartum fitness. So I have my birth fit certification, and then I have my certification with pregnancy and postpartum athleticism. And I was able to take this information and put it into something that was very helpful for myself as well as my clients. And when we talk about diastasis rectus abdominis, women hear this and it scares us, right? We don't know what it is. How do we fix it? Do we need to get surgery? What is it going to look like? Are our abs going to stay apart forever? What is it going to feel like? And all of these concerns are very valid. And I want to talk about in this episode what it is and why, as moms, we need to care about it. It's very important, and it's not like, oh, you have DRA and the world is ending. And in fact, it's the opposite. And I can't wait to share this information with you. Now, let's dive into it. What is diastasis recti, or DRA? Diastasis recti is the separation of the abdominal muscles along your midline. So the linea alba is, think of that in your midline. That's the connective tissue holding everything together. Now, when you're growing a baby, as baby grows, your abs have to separate to make room, which is really fascinating when you think about it. And so when this happens, your abs separate, diastasis recti, your recti abdominis, those are your six-pack abs. Those muscles are separating to make room for your growing baby. This has to happen. And by the end of pregnancy, 99% of women will have this. If not all women are going to have this, because again, we have to make sure that we're making enough room for baby. Not only women who are pregnant are going to get diastasis rectus abdominis. People who are overweight or obese, they're going to experience this ab separation as well because of the increase in weight and pressure along the abdominal cavity. And so you're going to see the abs stretch out, and maybe when they're doing movement, or maybe when after they lose some weight and they're trying to do certain exercises, they may have specific symptoms for DRA and actually see that ab separation. Infants are born with diastasis rectus abdominis, which a lot of people don't know. Your baby is born with ab separation. So a mother gives birth to her baby. She's going to have that ab separation from growing her baby, and then her baby is also going to have it as well. Now, what baby does as they're going through all of the different milestones and growth spurts that they're going through in a very short period of time, they are healing their diastasis rectus abdominis, which is so cool. Their abs are going to heal and come together. They're learning to stabilize and get some core strength and move in different ways. So diastasis rectus abdominis is this ab separation where your abdominal muscles along the midline, the linea alba, are going to separate. And because of this separation during pregnancy and of course postpartum, it can be harder to control intra-abdominal pressure. And when that happens, we can actually see different symptoms occur. So you may have heard of coning or doming. And what happens is when we don't have controlled intra-abdominal pressure when our abs are separated, that linea alba is stretched out, right? So what's going to happen is everything's going to kind of cone or dome or pooch through that opening. And that means we are not controlling intra-abdominal pressure adequately. So it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I have DRA, we need to freak out. It just simply means, hey, you know what? The exercise that you're doing, or you crunching out of bed instead of going to your side and getting out of bed, is going to negatively impact your core and make it harder for you to heal. So it's just a symptom. We want to be aware of it, and then we want to be able to either retry controlling that intra-abdominal pressure or do something different. So for example, when I was pregnant with my little girl, I was going to CrossFit regularly, and I was doing kettlebell swings, and I was weightlifting, and I was doing a lot of different types of movements. And with one of the movements, kettlebell swings, I wanted to see if I was coning or doming. So I would ask my husband, because of course I told him all about this. I asked him, hey, babe, I'm going to do a kettlebell swing with the weight that I normally do. Let me know if I'm coning or doming. So he stood on the side of me, and I performed a few reps of the kettlebell swing, and he said, no, you're not doming, you're good. Now, if I was coning or doming, where I'm seeing that bulge come out in the center of my midline, that means I'm not controlling that intra-abdominal pressure adequately, and I either need to re-control my breathing, my stability breath or bracing, or I need to get a smaller weight. So that's something that we need to be aware of during pregnancy. Now, when we're postpartum, there's different things that we can do to be able to heal that. Along with the coning and doming, when contracting, whether that's exercise or, like I said, getting out of bed, there may be a visible bulge or pooch that protrudes just above or below the belly button. It's in the midline. Okay, so it kind of just depends on the severity of your diastasis rectus abdominis, the depth, and other things going on. It may feel soft or jelly-like around your belly button. It may be difficult to lift objects, walking, or performing everyday tasks because our core is healing and coming back together, and that takes time. There may be some other symptoms that women may experience, such as pain during intercourse or pelvic or hip pain, maybe low back pain. Again, that's going to be directly related to the core, poor posture, and it can impact our bladder because of our pelvic floor, and that can lead to urine incontinence, and it can also impact just feeling weak in your abdominal area. So diastasis rectus abdominis is a natural occurrence. It's going to occur in pretty much every single woman after having a baby, but it's not just going to heal on its own. We have to be able to do specific exercises and specific breathing techniques to be able to bring it back together. And postpartum is a great time to focus on that. But even if you're 2 years postpartum, it's not too late. We can still work on creating controlling that intra-abdominal pressure, building strength and stability, and learning how to bring those abs back together so you don't have this ab separation. Now, as moms, why do we need to know about diastasis recti? I've heard people say like, oh, I can just get surgery. The doctor said I can get surgery once I'm done having kids. And we need to take a step back for a minute. One, is it necessary to get a surgery? Because no matter the type of surgery, surgery is surgery, and that can be a little intense, and there are, of course, risks with it. And if we can do something on our own or with a coach or a pelvic floor physical therapist to be able to heal and adequately recover and get to where we were before we had diastasis recti, why not start there? Now, I'm not saying that you should never get surgery. It's just something to really consider and to think about. So it's going to be a natural occurrence when there's things that we can do that aren't going to take a lot of time to be able to do this. Now, we need to care about this because of the potential impacts. Core weakness. If we have core weakness, it's going to be really hard to lift up a load of laundry, to lift up your toddler. You're going to feel like you're breaking your back every time you're picking up the toys after the kid's done playing with them. That's going to lead to low back pain. Maybe how you're holding your baby, you're going to be like, man, I just feel weak. My back is always hurting. And then it's impacting our posture. Something very common I see with moms, depending on how they're holding their babies, I can tell how they hold their babies by the way they stand when they're not holding their babies and their core strength, because we kind of like tilt forward, right? You're in this like posterior pelvic tilt, and you're kind of just like hanging out on your spine. That's kind of what it looks like. So you have core weakness, low back pain, poor posture, and difficulty with certain movements or exercises. So when you're ready to get back into the gym or go walking or running or doing what you love to do and increase strength and performance, you may have a hard time doing that because you have a weak core and instability and low back pain and poor posture, because that is your foundation. Your core and your pelvic floor is your foundation, and then we should build out from there. And recovering postpartum in the first 3 months, that's a great time to focus on this, especially because, as I mentioned, babies are going to be going through milestones to help bring their diastasis recti together. So they're doing bear, they're doing happy baby, they're doing shin box, they're doing all of these different movements to be able to bring everything together. Like tummy time, they need tummy time to be able to get that stability and that strength. And while baby is doing that, you can definitely be doing some of the things with them. So it's more than just aesthetics. It's more than just how we look. I know that definitely matters because it's going to impact our confidence and how we feel. And that totally makes sense. And again, it matters. But it's also going to affect your functional strength and overall health. And then what happens if you want another baby? It's going to make it even harder after that. You're putting so much more strain on your core and your pelvic floor. So it's really important that we focus on this. Now, how do we recognize it? How do we recognize diastasis recti? There is a specific way to check diastasis recti. And if you're working with a fitness coach, if you're working with me or a pelvic floor physical therapist, then you are going to be assessed or told how to do this. This is something that I teach moms in my program, that they can check themselves, or when working with their pelvic floor PT to have them check. Now, it's not necessary to check during pregnancy because it's you're growing a baby. Your abs are going to separate, right? There's no need to check. Now, what we do need to be mindful of during pregnancy is our coning and our doming, as well as postpartum. Now, when we're postpartum, we don't want to be checking every single day, is my diastasis recti still there? Because that can negatively impact the healing process. And it's not going to take 24 hours for your core to heal. It's going to take time. It's going to take months. I usually tell moms, let's give it like 12 months at least. And even after that, I'm 17 months postpartum and I'm still doing some of the basics and the foundations for my core that I did 2 months postpartum when I had diastasis recti. That means something, and it's really important. But what you're going to do is you're going to lay flat on your back, and you're going to lift your shoulders bra line off the ground. So you're creating intra-abdominal pressure, and then you're feeling along the midline. You're feeling for a gap, usually with 2 fingers. Now, it kind of depends. It can be how deep you're going, so how many knuckles, and your pelvic floor physical therapist is really going to assess this, and how wide it is. So as you're recovering and you're healing, and maybe every few months you're checking, or your pelvic floor PT is checking, they can assess, okay, you know what? Things are getting closer. You're getting stronger. It's healing. It's going good. And that's exactly what happened with me and my pelvic floor PT. So after I had my baby girl, I went to my pelvic floor PT 6 weeks postpartum to assess healing and recovery and exercises that I can do specific for what was going on with me and my pelvic floor. And then every so often when I would check in with her and I would meet with her, she would assess to see how everything was healing. And she's like, yep, looks good. Everything's good. And there's other things that we need to focus on. I encourage you to seek professional assessment from a pelvic floor PT or a physical therapist that works in this area, or a fitness professional, someone who knows what they're doing. So for example, someone like me who has their 2 certifications in prenatal and postpartum fitness. You want to make sure that you're getting someone who knows how to assess. You don't want to just have someone randomly going in there. Now, what are the steps for recovery? We have to make sure that we are focusing on proper core and pelvic floor rehab. That is key. And we want to make sure that we're not jumping into movements too quickly, and that we're not overriding those symptoms like doming and coning. There may be other symptoms like prolapse that we're experiencing, or incontinence. These are things that you need to talk about with your pelvic floor PT so they can assess what's going on with you and specific exercises that can help. We don't want to make this worse. And how you're doing your activities of daily living matters. How you're lifting up your toddler, how you're holding and rocking your baby to sleep, how you're putting them in the crib, how you are doing laundry and picking up toys and cleaning and cooking and all of your activities of daily living. That's a great place to start with being able to control intra-abdominal pressure, focus on the core, and then, of course, doing it in the gym with your workouts and other exercises. As a quick recap, what is diastasis recti? It's very common. Pretty much every single woman after having a baby is going to have it. Your baby is born with it. People who are overweight and obese have diastasis recti. And what it is the ab separation. Your rectus abdominis is separating to make room for the baby during pregnancy. And so postpartum, we need to heal, we need to recover, give it your body the appropriate exercises and breathing techniques it needs to be able to heal. Doming and coning is, especially when contracting, is a very common symptom. And so when you see that, recognizing it and making sure you're controlling that intra-abdominal pressure before either lifting heavier or continuing on. We need to know about diastasis recti because it's going to impact core weakness, lower back pain, poor posture, and difficulty with certain movements and exercises, especially with our activities of daily living. I informed you how to assess it, but I really encourage you to meet with a pelvic floor physical therapist or do my program. My program is 100% online. It's 100% self-paced. And this is for you to be able to go through all of this at your own time. So there are various modules on how to use the breathing techniques that I teach you, how to use it in your everyday life, and then a variety of specific movements and poses that you can start integrating to be able to heal the core and the pelvic floor. This is what I did postpartum, and I am so glad that I did it because 17 months after having my baby, I feel so strong. My core feels great, and I'm not having any issues with when I had a DRA. So to be able to access this program, you're going to go to bit.ly/postpartum core program, and it's going to have all the information, all of the modules in there for you. You can purchase it right then and there, and you can do it at your own pace. So again, that is bit.ly/postpartum core program, and you can get access to that right away. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. We can definitely do things ourselves and with other healthcare providers like our pelvic floor PTs to be able to heal our DRA, bring our core together, and be super, super strong even after having a baby. Hey mama, I hope you loved today's episode. If it resonated with you, would you please take 30 seconds to share it with another mom, a mom who's looking to make healthy eating and exercise easier, because we need that. And if you haven't yet, I would be so grateful if you could leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It truly means the world to me and helps the show reach more amazing moms like you. All right, time to chase my toddler around. Stay strong and nourished, and I will be back on Monday with another episode. Talk soon.